Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And if you are tuning in, you are probably smarter than the average bear. Getting into some climate change news, political news, etc., etc. So, did any of you know that there was another climate forum happening in the next couple days? I didn't know. This was actually brought to my attention by Graham Elwood. I had no idea this was happening. It was not widely advertised, but there is a climate forum sponsored by MSNBC that is happening on Thursday and Friday. And apparently, Bernie Sanders is the only one of most of the candidates that is going to attend. Again, if you are serious about climate change and climate change issues, any other candidate is not coming close to what Bernie Sanders is proposing to do about climate change. Whether you think what he's, proposing is enough or spitting in the wind, whatever it might be that you think about it, it's the boldest, the best, the most far-reaching plan to tackle climate change, or at least start a transition to another economy, which we must start immediately. And 2020 will, put us actually 2 more years behind, because by the time he gets in office, it's going to be 2021. Sanders to attend latest climate forum while Biden and Warren pass. I'm not going to read too much of this, but, the headline basically says what you need to know. So here's something else to know about it. Its live-streamed event at Georgetown University will include hour-long interviews with presidential contenders on Thursday and Friday, and is aimed at students in time to align with global climate strikes inspired by young people. So Kamala Harris will miss the event. Beto O'Rourke will miss the event. Amy Klobuchar will miss it. The Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders will be interviewed on Thursday. Apparently, there's a Republican challenger to Donald Trump named Bill Weld. Does anybody know about this guy? He will also appear. So apparently, most of the candidates who declined cited scheduling difficulties. They're all going to be in Iowa. Apparently, there's a LGBTQ forum in Cedar Rapids on Friday. The DNC has refused to allow an official climate crisis debate. They didn't ask Senator Sanders any questions about his plan in the last debate, and they devoted very, very little time to climate change in the last debate. Of course. Apparently some of the candidates are going to appear on the forum or appear on MSNBC from Iowa. But this should just delineate, how important the issue is to Bernie Sanders and to the other candidates. This from The Guardian from yesterday. Greta Thunberg, or Thunberg, I don't know if I'm getting that right. I'm going to go with Thunberg for now. Greta Thunberg to Congress, "You're not trying hard enough. Sorry." So apparently she spoke with Congress. At a meeting of the Senate Climate Crisis Task Force on Tuesday, lawmakers praised a group of young activists for their leadership, their gumption, and their display of wisdom far beyond their years. They then asked the teens for advice on how Congress might combat one of the most urgent and politically contentious threats confronting world leaders, climate change. Well, at least they're talking about it. They're asking questions. Greta Thunberg, 16-year-old Swedish activist who has galvanized young people across the world to strive for more action to combat the impact of global warming, politely reminded them that she was a student, not a scientist or a senator. Please save your praise. We don't want it, she said. Don't invite us here to tell us how inspiring we are without actually doing anything about it, because it doesn't lead to anything. If you want advice for what you should do, invite scientists. Ask scientists for their expertise. We don't want to be heard. We want the science to be heard. In remarks meant for Congress as a whole, she said, I know you were trying, but just not hard enough. Sorry. The audience laughed. Supporters broke into applause. Senator Ed Markey, the Massachusetts Democrat who co-sponsored the Green New Deal and leads the Senate task force, was perhaps surprised by her bluntness, but he smiled. But it's true. You can't treat this situation with niceties and kid gloves. He vowed, so Markey told Thunberg, we need your leadership. Young people are the army politically, which has arrived in the United States. You put a spotlight on this issue in a way that it has never been before, and this is creating a new X factor. Still, he vowed to try. We hear you. We hear what you're saying, and we will redouble our efforts. Thunberg was one of several youth activists invited to address the task force during the 2 days of action and speeches aimed at urging lawmakers to support transformative climate action. She was joined by activists from across the U.S. and South America, part of a multiracial, intergenerational effort to combat climate change. Apparently, on Monday, she met Barack Obama. Later on Tuesday, the group was scheduled to meet with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a co-sponsor of the Green New Deal in the House. On Wednesday, that's today, Thunberg will deliver what has been billed as a major address to members of Congress. Addresses have been made to Congress for the last 30 years. Let's hope this prods more action than those, the previous testimonies. And lastly, saw this on Facebook. Grabbed it from a Facebook group. The incredible belief that corporate ownership does not influence media content. I think everybody understands here that corporate media, being what it is doing its part to disinform people as much as it tries to inform people. As Senator Bernie Sanders has recently noted, corporate ownership of media interferes with the core societal function of the press, reporting and investigating key issues at the intersection of public need and governance. And nowhere is that more critical than when it comes to climate. Due to their corporate conflicts of interest, trusted news authorities have diverted us from our primary responsibility, assuring a viable habitat for our children and grandchildren. As a journalist who has worked both inside and outside of establishment media, I see influence is embedded in the corporate media culture rather than in isolated cases of CEO dictates. It happens in little ways, such as how an interviewer frames a question, and in big ways, like the decision to exclude a topic, a person, or a group of people from the airwaves, like Bernie Sanders. Let me just jump in here real quick. Corporate media is beholden to the people that own the media and is also beholden to the corporate power structure that is in government. They work hand in glove. And so therefore, certain narratives must be maintained. Anything that threatens that narrative must be shut down or derided or smeared or lessened or, made inconsequential somehow. That's why the term conspiracy theorist is so popular. That's why it's in the interest of the corporate media to find a way to disempower anything that's anti-establishment. Any anti-establishment voice or thought, they are there to make sure that doesn't happen, or that those voices are lessened or ignored completely. So that's why the media says that Joe Biden is in the lead when he's clearly a shadow of his former self. He can barely form a sentence. That's why the media still does not give Bernie Sanders any positive coverage whatsoever. And that's why when they do have him on, they ask him stupid questions about how are you going to pay for it? Or, how is this going to work? How do you think you're going to get this done? As if, whatever. So, be very wary of the people that the media, fawn over and say, oh, I'm going to just say it. Elizabeth Warren seems to be a media darling. And I see people running around, parroting this. Oh, she knows how to communicate. We feel like she's the best person to communicate her plans to the people. And that's something that was, has been trotted out as a narrative on corporate media. And I see, supposedly smart people picking up this narrative like, oh yeah, she's, yeah. And I don't know about Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders has been smeared and besmirched and lied upon basically in corporate media every single day. And you wonder if that has an effect. It totally has an effect. What the corporate media won't tell you or won't say out loud is that Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the United States, has the biggest grassroots support, has the biggest donor base. They won't tell you that. They refuse to tell you that. And they want to keep telling you that he's in third place or fourth place. They're doing this to shape how you think about the candidates and everything else, anything else you want to think about, Russiagate or Trump or climate change or, whatever it is, or war, Venezuela, Iran. Trump is just a very good foil for for corporate media. It doesn't mean he's not a complete raving lunatic, but they use his complete raving lunacy to link anybody who's against the media with Trump. Or like, oh, you hate, you can't say anything bad about the media because Trump does. Bullshit. Trump just does it in a self-serving way. But we all know that the media are just straight out pathological, serial liars. So it's totally fine to call out the mainstream media for the liars that they are and for the brainwashers and propagandists that they are. Higher ups would never offer editorial staff direct input on content. That's what their executive and middle management were for. Would these managers confide to their staff that the big guns gave them a certain direction? No. Oh, really? Whatever it was, they would present it as their own and it would be adopted. So that's why, that's why people are fired when they have anti-war sentiments. Phil Donahue came out against the Iraq War. He was fired. There was a writer, I can't remember his name, who, covered Bernie Sanders. He was told not to cover Bernie Sanders, and he covered him anyways. He was fired. Or he covered him positively. You can't do that. MSNBC show hosts like Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes rarely covered fracking, instead letting gas and oil industry ads reassert claims of safety. Nonprofit environmental groups, leading activists, along with the growing body of independent journalists filled the media void, including my own reporting at Huffington Post, Alternet, and EcoWatch. This is why independent media is so important. If you're only getting your news from MSNBC or CNN, you are incredibly misinformed. We need independent alternative media now more than ever. That's why it's important to tune into channels and support channels such as this one and others. That's all I have for you today. I'm going to link all these articles below. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.